Hello everybody, Mr. Lego Lover 55 here, and today I want some retired Ninjago sets. Now if you've been keeping up with the channel, you'd know I own every Ninjago minifigure ever made. However, I do not own every Ninjago set ever made, and that's not something I plan on changing. Alongside the TV show, Ninjago's had a long history of Lego sets, some incredible, some subpar, and everything in between. As someone who's been a Ninjago fan for the theme's entire 15-year run, I've been fortunate enough to indulge in most of the line's catalog, but not everything. There have been a number of sets that have eluded me over the years: the Fire Temple, Battle for Ninjago City, Moro's Dragon, the Diesel Knot, and many more. But I'm not a kid anymore, and now that I have adult money, I can spend it on these plastic toys for children. So I set out on a mission to acquire and build one of these sets I missed out on, and it won't even be that hard. The year is 2026. Ninjago's reached a new peak in popularity, and the aftermarket is all kinds of whack. I've got a lot to say on Ninjago minifigure prices. Why is Final Battle Zane $50? But that's a topic for another time. Today, we're focusing on Ninjago sets, which are unfortunately no different. Except there's a catch. Minifigs are infamous for being stupidly expensive, as are some of their parts. Sets new and used are also known for this, except for their parts. Because you see, most sets are actually comprised of fairly common, easy to acquire parts with a few exceptions. So today, I'm gonna be sharing with you my process on how to piece together Ninjago sets for reasonable prices. And to do that, I'll be embarking on this journey with
the 2019 Ninjago Land Bounty, MSRP $130, 6-wheel drive, top-of-the-line steering, crisp cut sails, cannon artillery, and land and air mobility. This beaut will show you it's possible that dreams,
so long as they're Ninjago related,
do come true.
This is a set I initially gave a lot of flack. Pardon me guys, I just didn't get it. The concept of slapping wheels onto the Destiny's Bounty was too ahead of its time for me, what can I say? With my current Neverrealm copium for season 4 of Dragon's Rising and the upcoming remake of the set, I feel like now is as good a time as any to recreate this hunk of a mobile base. Now my process consists of 8 primary steps, and we'll be using a few different sites to carry these out. But the primary one you'll absolutely want to use is BrickLink. Not only will this be incredibly useful for acquiring a majority of the parts, but it's also extremely useful for keeping track of which parts you have and still need, which leads into... If we go to the set's listing page on BrickLink, you can see an option to part out the set. This is step 1, and it's thankfully pretty easy. Using this allows you to create a wish list of every single piece we need. This guy is going to be your best friend through all this, helping you keep track of which pieces you own and still need. You can choose to exclude certain items as well, and I'm just gonna get these minifigs out of here, cause well.
Shape what your mama gave you. Yeah.
Now step 2 you might think is to start ordering parts, but before we do any of that, we're gonna wanna hit the subscribe button. Ah, gotcha. Didn't expect that, did you? Sorry, it was too perfect a segue. For real though, liking and subscribing does a lot to support the channel, and if you wanna support a little further, consider becoming a channel member featuring all these cool perks, plus shoutouts at the end of long-form videos like these. But anyways, step 2 is actually going to be pulling spare parts from your own collection. Again, one of the goals of this is to try and spend as little as possible. Believe it or not, I'm a bit stubborn. I'm not paying these ridiculous eBay prices, so any bit we can save is always going to be helpful. If you're a big Lego collector, you might have a lot of small leftover pieces from sets, so it's always helpful to pull any small parts you need. I also have a pretty sizable Bionicle and Technic collection to pull from, so that already covers a large portion of this set. I also picked up this Spinjitzu Tornado during the Ninjago craze for a pretty good price. You can also cannibalize sets for parts, but I don't really do that, so... But after going through my collection and checking off everything in that wish list, I managed to accumulate 30% of the needed parts. Step 3 is now where we start perusing different stores. It's usually pretty rare for one store to have everything, so you'll likely have to place multiple orders. The less stores, however, the better, as shipping costs can start to rack up pretty quickly. The best and most efficient tool I found to do this is the auto select button in BrickLink's Buy All feature. It automatically sorts through every store and part listing to find the cheapest total combination. This is super helpful, though it isn't always perfect. While it accounts for things like minimum buys, it completely neglects shipping costs and average lot values, which with orders this large is a whole can of worms you want to avoid. But otherwise, it ain't bad. Plus, if need be, you're able to adjust which parts it searches for. And after creating your carts, an optional little half step you can do is go through all these stores and add any unrelated parts you might want to help get the most value out of the shipping. This is usually better for smaller orders, but it can also sometimes deal with any average lot value issues in case that's something that needs to be handled. We're going to bring LEGO's official site into the picture with their online Pick-a-Brick service. Now, oftentimes, PAB's prices will be significantly higher than BrickLink's. However, that's not always necessarily true, as the combination of parts from BrickLink's automatic buy all feature isn't always going to choose the cheapest part listings. It tends to prioritize convenience first by picking from as few stores as possible, then price. What you'll want to do essentially is copy and paste each individual part ID into Pick-a-Brick and compare the price of your BrickLink cart to the price on Pick-a-Brick. More often than not, this can bring the total down by quite a bit, especially if you're piecing together a larger set. Plus, LEGO.com's free shipping policy still applies to Pick-a-Brick orders, so if you manage to spend $35 on parts, you get free shipping. Additionally, everything you order from Pick-a-Brick is in new condition. However, the biggest drawback has to be their service fees. I've talked about this before, but essentially they split up parts into two categories, being standard parts and bestseller parts. And if you have parts from both categories, you'll need to spend at least $14 per just to waive the $7 service fees. If you're just piecing together a set and not after any other parts Pick-a-Brick has to offer, I'd honestly just suggest skipping this step altogether and sticking to BrickLink, as this is by far the most tedious step. I tend to wait for new part drops before placing Pick-a-Brick orders, however, so the fees aren't usually an issue, as there's enough stuff I already want to order before I go about this step. But now, there's one fatal problem in my process here. We've been so focused on typical bricks and bones that I've neglected special elements. See, the 2019 Ninjago Land Bounty, MSRP $130, has a few unique elements that make things rather difficult. And it's surprisingly not the sales, which were pretty cheap by the way, but rather... Now, depending on your set, this step is either pretty simple or pretty freaking annoying, and in my instance, it's the latter. I don't care how much I want the 2019 Ninjago Land Bounty, MSRP $130, 6-wheel drive, top-of-the-line steering, crisp cut sails, cannon artillery, and land and air mobility, I'm not paying $90 for stickers. So, if you find yourself in a similar position, try eBay. And thankfully, someone was selling it for $16 and free shipping. Tried to best offer the seller and got a whole 15 cents off. So, you know, prob's best I was gonna get. If eBay fails, definitely consider third-party alternative stickers. I did check Brick Sticker Shop, a site I featured in a previous video, and while they have a number of Ninjago sticker sheets, the land bounties was sadly nowhere to be found. But with all that said and done, we can finally move on to Most sellers will likely have instant checkout, though some may require you to request a quote, so exact shipping and other fees can be calculated. From here, it's primarily a waiting game. Slowly but surely, the orders start trickling in. Did I basically waste most of my free time in May waiting at my doorstep for the mailman every day? I'll let you be the judge. If you want to see the full unboxing of these orders, go check out my latest BrickLink and Pick-a-Brick hauls. A lot were elements for this video, but I also added in a bunch of other cool Bionicle and Ninjago minifig elements, as well as parts for another set I was attempting to piece together. Eventually, all the orders came in, and nothing was stopping me from building this beast of a machine.
Thank God, finally. What the fuck?
Pick-a-Brick, in my experience at least, never really gets things wrong. But BrickLink, on the other hand, as much as I'll gas up the site, it's not perfect. Some parts I was sent were either wrong or just missing altogether. No matter what, this is always disappointing, especially when you're piecing together the
2019 Ninjago land bounty MSRP.
In situations like this, it's important to stay level-headed. Kindly reach out to the sellers through BrickLink's messaging system and explain your issue with the order. In my experience, sellers will typically offer a refund for the missing or incorrect items, if they're, a good store. From there, you can go about essentially repeating step 3 until you have everything. Additionally, these crisp cut sales were not looking so crisp cut. So thanks to this video I found, I safely ironed these puppies out and restored them to glory. But once the last of your orders come in, it is time, finally, to build. After pulling together all my parts, minifigs, and online instructions, I sat down and started building. And with that, I introduce you to the
2019 Ninjago land bounty MSRP $130, 6-wheel drive, top-of-the-line steering, crisp cut sails, cannon artillery, and land and air mobility.
For a set of this size, I got really lucky. In total, there were only 3 parts I was missing. However, I recently reunited with the other half of my Lego collection, so I was able to pull one of these seats from my bin of spare organized parts, as well as this arch from a hidden side set I currently have deconstructed. This set is an absolute unit, and really cool to actually own now. Despite my initial impressions, I almost managed to get it back in the day for a pretty good deal, thanks to BrickSeek when it was still goated. Unfortunately, by the time I reached the Walmart that discounted the set, it was gone, and to this day, regret not getting there sooner. But now it's mine, just in time to compare to the
2026 Ninjago land bounty MSRP $130, 6-wheel drive, back wheel steering, sleek edges, 3-in-1 action, and land and air mobility.
In comparison to the new one, there's definitely a significant size difference. The new one feels a lot more compact and streamlined with its building techniques, while the original uses pretty basic brick stacking for a majority of the build, though it has the advantage of having a somewhat functional interior. These dang ceilings are just too low. It honestly reminds me a lot of, and this is really gonna show my age here, the Galactic Enforcer from Space Police. Large build, mobile base area, detachable vehicles. I mean, they both even have space for a little buggy in the back. Rah! I love little buggies hidden in the backs of builds. It's my favorite Lego set trope ever! But hold on there. The question remains. Was this worth the price I paid? My order totals are muddied with other miscellaneous parts, but because I care for you, dear viewers, I wasted even more time meticulously calculating the specific amount I spent on parts for this masterwork of a build. And the results were shocking, to say the least. After an entire evening of calculations, I pieced together the 2019 Ninjago land bounty for $176 US. Don't get me wrong, still a lot for a Lego set, but all things considered, it's only about $40 more than the original retail price, and significantly less than the average price you'll see on eBay, which tend to be in the $200 to $300 range. And running the original $130 price tag through an inflation calculator brings it out to nearly the exact same amount. And this is with shipping factored in. Excluding it, the grand total comes out to around $125 US. So you know what? I'll take it. Again, while I did already have 30% of the set's parts and figures, I hope this video gives you a little bit of hope that the Ninjago aftermarket isn't completely ruined, and that if you play things safe and smart and have a little bit of patience, anything is possible. Using this same strategy is actually how I pieced together my copy of Lloyd's Titan mech, the original that is, as well as the Ice Emperor's castle. These steps have served me well over the years, and now I pass my knowledge on to you all. Because seriously, the Ninjago aftermarket needs healing. Why is Airjitsu Cole this freaking much? This video took quite a lot of time to make, so I'd seriously appreciate any and all support on this one. You can support me financially through my Etsy and BrickLink stores, or again, becoming a channel member. Also, consider checking out the Crossroads Discord server, where you can meet and collab with other Ninjago fans and creators. But that's pretty much all I have to say, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and keep building.